Welcome to the Surrogacy Warrior podcast with your host, Kimberly Surratt. Join us as we dive deep into the heart of surrogacy, offering insights, sharing stories, and providing advice. Our mission is to illuminate every corner of surrogacy, from the emotional roller coasters and legal battles to the triumphant moments of birth and beyond. Surrogacy Warrior is more than just a podcast. It's a community for anyone touched by or interested in the transformative power of surrogacy. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, lawyersforfamilies.com. Now here's the host of Surrogacy Warrior, Kimberly Surratt.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Surrogacy Warrior podcast, the podcast where we navigate the incredible journey of surrogacy and assisted reproduction. I'm Kim Surratt, your host and passionate advocate for creating families through these remarkable paths. Today, we're talking to Courtney Johnson, who is an attorney in Florida, who I am in love with, just so everybody knows. But welcome, Courtney. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and I love you too.
You know, it's such a lovely thing because I did divorce work for longer than I wanted to admit before I got to dump it on its butt and move on to just doing this work. But you don't get to say that often in family law about your attorneys that you work with and your colleagues. It becomes bitter, it becomes nasty, but now that's the joy of doing this area of law, is that we get to say that about each other. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's go into that first, and then we're going to just so the world knows, I'm going to say your secret, which is not really a secret, but Courtney has the joy of actually getting to say that she knows two sides of this world, both as the attorney and as an intended parent. But tell us about yourself as an attorney and just any interesting facts to start with.
Sure. So I'm an attorney. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm licensed in Florida. I have been practicing for 13 years, and I actually started out at the height of the recession. So started out doing all kinds of litigation, really fun stuff, definitely adversarial, like you said, where you don't have a lot of nice things to say about the people on the other side sometimes. So that's kind of how I got my start in law. I went to undergrad at the University of Florida. Go Gators! We just won the national championship in basketball. I went to law school at Florida State, and so I have been doing, but most importantly, I've been doing assisted reproductive law for the past 5 years because I used a surrogate to have my son. So I am married to my high school boyfriend, and we had a very long journey with infertility, and we ended up using a wonderful, amazing surrogate in Nevada to have our son, and he just turned 5. So that's a little bit about me.
5. My son's 16 and just started driving. Believe me, tomorrow we'll be talking about your son having a driver's license. It's weird how things go by so fast, and just the fact that you have it, your son's 5 already, is just amazing. But so let's talk about this, because our clients go through quite an emotional journey, and I think having the insight of somebody who's both an attorney in surrogacy and also who chose surrogacy as a path. Do you mind sharing with the world like what that looked like, your decision to use surrogacy? And because so many people are going through that, like, should I do it or shouldn't I?
Sure. So surrogacy was pretty much chosen for me by my doctor that I loved so very much. Kind of just sat me down and said, "Enough is enough. You've given it your bet. You're done. You've done enough. You've tried." So like I said, we tried for 6-7 years. I had lots of miscarriages, lots of losses, lots of failed transfers, and so it was just kind of chosen for us. That was our kind of our best path forward. And at that point, we had frozen embryos, so we kind of decided that that was the way we wanted to try to grow our family, as opposed to some of the other ways lots of other ways that people grow their family. So that's kind of how we ended up with surrogacy. And I was seeing a counselor here in Jacksonville that I love dearly, and she kind of recommended some agencies to me. And so I started doing the lawyer thing of interviewing agencies and with my legal pad and asking them all the questions. And I ended up selecting an agency, and they were able to put me in contact ultimately with our surrogate. And I just loved her. And then we had we ended up having several transfers and several miscarriages as well. But I just really felt like she was meant to be in our life for a reason. And so the contract, as you know, most allow for up to 3 transfers. So we ended up doing 3 transfers. We kind of just both made the decision, okay, let's try for the 3rd one. And that's what ended up, that was our son. It was a very long journey. I don't know if that directly answered what you were asking.
Well, like when we're looking at an agency, because I think there's so much value to intended parents that are listening to the podcast to hear from somebody who obviously they look at lawyers and think we have some kind of inside scoop, but we don't always, right? That we know something better than the average Joe, but we don't necessarily. But like when you looked at the agencies and you were picking between them, what ended up being important to you when you chose one?
Well, and I will caveat that it was a different time for me. We were in 2017, 2018. No one knew what the word COVID was, so it was a different time frame about things. But matching times were certainly important to me, but also just the feeling that I got with the agency representatives and how they made me feel that I wasn't just going to be a number or a cog in their system. I felt like I was valued and was going to be, that my wants and opinions were going to be taken seriously, and that they were going to match us with someone that they felt was going to be the best fit for us, and ultimately they definitely did. And so that's what ended up being important. I just kind of had to go with you just kind of have to get a feel and see who you click with. I know that, but there's no right or wrong answer in that, but it's really just doing as much research as you can and feeling people out.
You keep talking about that gut instinct. I tell so many of my clients, there's different types of agencies out there. There's ones that operate on a very mass business scale. And if you, like, I had a client who was he was a tax attorney. So I'm like, I've got the touchy-feely agencies and I've got the kind of cog business technical agencies. And I really think and the problem with that client was that his wife needed and wanted the touchy-feely, and he needed the cog business technical very structured agency. But I do think that's so that was a difficult one, because it was like, all right, we got to meet both of these needs somehow, and I'm not real sure how, but we went at it. But I do think looking at personalities and helping clients match with agencies is important. I mean, did you feel that way as a lawyer? I think some agencies are like, oh God, lawyers as clients, the most, I know my lawyer clients are some of my most difficult,
Yes, I'm sure they felt that way. And my husband is a CPA, so he was like, you can decide on the touchy-feely stuff. I need to know about the numbers and what we're getting into and what the timeline is and when we owe what we owe and how that all works. So it's just finding the balance, I think, between, and we do this in our job, Kim, you have to explain, okay, these are your obligations, this is what a breach is, and then you turn the page and you're saying, okay, well, this is how it is when you want to visit with the baby in the hospital. And so you're doing so much of the back and forth of the black and white aspect of surrogacy, but then also the collaborative and the family building. And so I think it's just all intertwined.
You made several comments about how your surrogate was just the ideal surrogate for you and just
Yes.
meant to be. How did you know that? What was that feeling? How was that relationship developed for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, we're actually going to see her next week, I think. She's coming to Tampa, and so I feel that's only a couple hours away from me. So I just feel like even when she's in the vicinity, we have to go see her. And then I'm going to see her for dinner in May when I go out for the Seeds conference. So even just within the first few minutes of talking with her, it was Skype at the time. Zoom, no one even knew what Zoom was. It was Skype or just
I was like the prehistoric age, pre-COVID,
yeah.
right? But it was only a few years
So
ago.
just talking with her and her husband, my husband and I did, and we just really felt like they were people that we would be friends with, and that we could see ourselves getting along with, even just to go socialize with, go out to dinner with, and they were our same age, which was kind of just personally important to me. That there was someone that
Why was
was
that important?
I don't. Well, so I was I the ripe old age of 31, which in the South is like ancient for trying to have children, and I didn't want to be matched with someone that was like 22 years old. That was just a personal preference. So they were close in age to us, and she was is a teacher, and both my mom and my sister are teachers, and I just feel like teachers, most good teachers go above and beyond day in and day out, taking care of other people's children all day long. And I mean, to be a teacher with, how horribly teachers are paid usually, and
And
you
treated, and yeah.
you have to have the heart for it. And so I felt like even just, if someone um, has the heart to do that, they obviously, have the heart for this. And she had also been a surrogate before. So she kind of knew what she was getting into as far as the medications, and I felt comforted by that okay, she knows what she's doing, how this is going to go, leading up to the transfer, and what's how that will work. And then our relationship just grew and grew. Went out for the transfers together, and I was able to I went to Las Vegas for most every single appointment. I would fly out on the red eye, go out there, come right back the next day, and I just really just wanted to support her, and as she was supporting me. So
It's interesting because I say I develop biases. I don't know if it's a bias or not, but it's like I start to prefer certain surrogates over time. And I think teachers are definitely one of those categories. I've always enjoyed the teacher surrogates. I do feel like they can take direction, they understand instruction. There's a lot of instructions that come from the IVF clinic. And then also my surrogates in the medical industry have a different respect for them. They just understand things and know. But it's lovely to hear somebody else say, yeah, teachers, like they make great surrogates. There's a reason for that.
absolutely, and I would agree with you. The nurse surrogates I represent, they're just top notch. They're like, yep, no problem. I mean, I would agree with you. It seems like they kind of understand
They don't
what they're doing.
argue about medical
No,
stuff and the importance of it and the timing. They don't feel intruded on. They understand the importance of those medical instructions, Yeah, and it's interesting because I think you're the first person I've ever heard mention, I always find it interesting to see why people click with their surrogates. And age can matter. I just hadn't thought about it. It hadn't occurred to me. And I don't know that it's critical. I will tell intended parents, like, there's a shortage of women willing to be surrogates, so don't get too picky, right? I mean, that's obviously a criteria. You need to be open-minded. It's like when they tell me, well, they want this, and this, and only in this jurisdiction, and it's like, oh, well, good luck. You're going to be on a waiting list for a while. But I can see, I don't know. I think that people in the same generations have a better understanding of each other, and that it's almost like a dating game, right?
Sort of. I think I just so my husband and I we got married during law school, and I had watched all of my best friends that I love dearly just go on and have children and have their first child and their second child, and it just was so very isolating to me that I just really, it was a really hard time, and I was so happy for them, obviously, but it was just a very, very hard time, and so I just felt like I wanted to be with, I don't know, I just wanted to really click with someone that I felt like was going to be more like I felt like I was going to be, I don't know how to describe it, but I felt like it was going to be harder for me to listen to it or to be matched with a 20-year-old that already had one or two of her own children, and obviously be able to be a surrogate. I don't. That's probably piddly a thing to care about, but
Because I think we're on to something here where agencies listening to this too, please like know some of this stuff's important. And there are reasons. I mean, I get agencies get desperate to match people at times because they're just like, this is it, this is what we've got next on the list, you either take this person or not. But it's not that simple, and it shouldn't be that simple. And I think the agencies that take greater care to slow the roll and do good matching and really think about, we've got 3 surrogates and we've got 5 couples, but who really, it's not just about who's next in line. It shouldn't be, because it's too intimate of a relationship.
absolutely.
And success can depend on these relationships. And it's not as simple as a cold match just based on good medical. It is often, and it can work, and they can succeed. Do they? Was their journey as heartfelt and fulfilling as it should have been? I had a surrogate on here on the podcast who had been a surrogate multiple times, and she had the very cold relationship that she's like, I wasn't expecting. I thought I'd have at least some connection, a little bit. And she talked about how hard it was on her, and it's still hard on her years down the road as a result of not having that. And it's a two-way street, and I'm hoping to get more surrogates on to talk about how that's important to a lot of them. Not all of them. Some of them don't operate that way. They need that cold relationship, but I don't know that the cold relationship builds what people think it builds.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has to do what they feel like is going to be best for them and their family. But I know my surrogate, her reasons is when she had carried for the family before ours, it was an international couple. And she got a lot of joy out of that as well. But obviously, the relationship it could only go so far given the distance, but also the language and the cultural barriers. So when she decided to do it again, she specifically asked for an English-speaking set of intended parents, and so
Interesting. Yeah, in a lot of our international clients speak quite a bit of English compared to U.S. citizens, for sure. Um, so, it's but there's different ways that bonding occurs. And some people I know go into this with the theory of, I just need somebody to carry my baby. I don't want that relationship in the long term. But I really think psychologically we're finding that that's not really what makes a very successful surrogacy. I don't have the statistics. I don't have the psychology behind it. So nobody call me out on that. But, psychologically, we're learning as we're doing this. It's still a very young industry in a legal mechanism that isn't, it's not as old as adoption. We learned a lot from adoption, where we really geared towards open adoptions and away from closed adoptions. And I don't see any difference here.
yeah.
And just watching you say that she's coming to Florida, you're going to see her in Nevada here soon. I mean, it's important, I think. I mean, I assume your surrogate feels the same way.
Yes, I assume so. So when we set
Yeah.
out, I think we both had on our, the the profile sheets and the books that they make us do, I think we both kind of had like circled between like a 0 and a 5 as far as what we wanted the relationship to look like. I think we both kind of put like a 3 and said like, we'll see what happens. It wasn't like we were both like, we want to be best friends tomorrow, but I think we both kind of wrote the same sentiment like, well, we'd like it to a relationship to develop organically. I mean, it's the same thing as, I mean,
Not forced.
the first time I met you, I wasn't like, Kim, let's be BFFs right now. I mean, you get closer with someone and you develop a friendship with them and a relationship. That's kind of how you build a natural relationship with someone. But I mean, if I talk about her now, if I start thinking about it too much, I start crying. I mean, I have pictures of her back on the shelf over here. I try not to bring too much of the personal into the work when I'm going through agreements with intended parents or surrogates, but obviously a lot of them like to ask me about it. And I mean, sometimes I even say, if my surrogate called me right now and said, I need your right arm, I would say, okay, I'll cut it off and send it to you. I mean, she just did so much for me, not even in trying to help us have a family, but just even still in continuing to be a part of our life. I just love her so much.
That you need to keep it out of the conversation, though. I get lawyers, when you're in, I always said that my divorce did make me a better divorce lawyer at that time. And yeah, there's a point of no return. Like, you don't give your dirty laundry out there for sure. But my work in surrogacy, the better I've gotten to know my clients at a deeper level, the better I feel I've become at doing this work. And I'm almost jealous. Like, I wish I was an intended parent, so I had that experience to give to it, because I think it makes you incredibly valuable to everything that we do. And for people to be able to have you for that purpose is incredible. One of the things I wanted to pull this out, I wanted to tease this out for a second, because I've looked at a lot of agency forms and clients have brought them to me. And, there are very few agencies asking that question with that scale of what kind of a relationship do you want to have? And some are, I'm not saying all aren't, but I do know that agencies don't necessarily know what the other agencies are doing. There's a lot of secret holding around what we do. But for us as lawyers, it's kind of our job to pull that out and say, yep, I think that's a great question. I want to see more agencies doing it personally. Are there other things like that with your agency specifically? They're like, yep, this is why this developed so well.
Well, I mean, I feel like now on this side of things, I can definitely see why that is so important. I feel like that, even on just like on social media, on the matching boards, on the professionals group, or some of the other things, you see people that are like, my intended parents have ghosted me for the past 4 months, and everyone, of course, is trying to support these surrogates and say that's something that should have been addressed at matching. And so, when I'm going through an agreement with either intended parents or a surrogate, I really try to address some of the potential things going forward beyond just the black and white, the compensation or termination or things like that, but really think about, what's it going to be like to go to appointments and be in this person's life and things like that. So I'm trying to think, going back when we did the forms, what else was in there. I mean, it obviously touched on making sure you're on the same stance with important topics like termination, like no one wants to think about.
Yeah.
But just asked, I mean, I thought some of the most important things were from her, what I remember seeing in hers is, why she wants to be a surrogate, and talked about even some of the silliest things like favorite foods or favorite that. And that was helpful to me, I feel like, in kind of bonding our relationship, because when she's, then going through the 2-week wait, I could go back and reference that and say, oh, I remembered that she really likes Chick-fil-A or whatever it may be. And so let me send her a DoorDash or a gift card to whatever it was that she put that she likes. She said that her favorite color was this, so let me send her a notebook that's this color, or just those kind of things that I feel like really helped
you create your relationship.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think that's important. And I think, again, I mean, I've seen a million agency forms and some have that kind of detail and others don't see the value in it. And people probably don't realize what its value is till down the road and hearing a conversation like this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel so bad. You're right. Like we see on the surrogacy professionals page or other pages on Facebook where the relationships have deteriorated and just gone into the dirt, and they're really hard to salvage. And so a lot of times my conversations with my clients, especially, I'll have intended parents who are just very obsessive and worried about being able to be in the delivery room. And it's like, well, that all depends on how you develop this relationship. Like you've got to build trust. You're talking about a moment when a woman is exposed to the world, right? In a very vulnerable situation, in a lot of pain, and you're trying to force your way in the room. And I understand, and it's really hard conversation to have with intended parents about wanting to be present for the birth of their child, but a fine line between respecting her. But that relationship is what's key. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had this conversation with people going, then don't screw up the relationship. You better be like a prince.
Yeah.
Right?
That actually is an aspect of my personal story that I do usually end up getting into in most of my discussions. Because my child decided that the appropriate time to be born was 5 weeks early and to come in 1 hour. So I was not there at delivery. I got on the very next. If you had talked to me that day, I was hysterical. Obviously, you get into a surrogacy, you dream about the delivery, you dream about being there, but
Right.
holding your child. I mean, I was beyond consolable, pretty much. But we got there. He'd been in the nursery, and he's not traumatized by me not being there the first 5 hours of his life.
That's a really good lesson for everybody to hear. Yeah.
Well, it just really is, I think it's an example of like things are not going to work out exactly how you plan. We have all this planned, but you're going to have to be flexible. This is multiple human beings involved, not only the surrogate and her family, but your child is going to, it ended up working out because he was born March 11th, 2020. And if he had been born when he was supposed to be born, the hospital probably wouldn't have let us in because of COVID. So it ended up working out, but it's I do end up getting into that almost every time.
And I think another reminder to people is, not all women who are pregnant with their own baby end up being there either. Sometimes they're unconscious and in surgery, right?
Right.
The spouses don't always make it on time. It happens all the time. It's not the end of the world. And if you're in just outside the door and your baby's handed straight to you, there is really just know that women will let you in the room. Most surrogates will when they are comfortable with you. But you got to build that comfort level. But it's not the end of the world. They feel like it is. And I love hearing how inconsolable you were, thinking you weren't there, and that it was okay, right?
Well, and my husband was actually in Tokyo. That's another story for work, and he was like ecstatic.
Yeah.
He was at a bar. He's like, "This is what we've been wanting. It's great." I'm like, "Shut up." So I was fine. I managed to be fine once we got there, but it was a very dramatic day.
Well, it's a lesson. I think the point of the podcast, one is advocacy. So we're trying to push for advocacy for the right and the wrong way to do things, and learning from mistakes and hearing these stories so that people can hear them and know you will survive. It will work out. It will be okay. But it is a personal room. It is a very personal room. I think about, I always tell my intended parents, I'm like, she has the right to scream and cuss and pinch and punch the person she loves. Not necessarily you, not Most likely not you. You're not in the love category yet. You might gain that status, but at the beginning, it's one of those things where the movies are real. Like women do start cussing. They are in pain. They do become mean. They do become a lot of things when they're giving birth. And so it's developed that relationship. It's so important. So tell me, through all this, I mean, I know it's made you a better lawyer, but are you enjoying doing this work now? I mean, I know it was a shift for you, and I enjoy having you doing this work in Florida for sure.
Thank you. Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. So much. Yes. I love getting to connect with my clients. I've met so many people from all across the world. I love getting texts of pictures. So in Florida, we have to file for it's post birth, and we have to kind of do it on a pretty quick basis after the baby is born. So I will oftentimes get pictures and say, the baby was born at, they'll say, he's here. It was an hour ago. Please file whatever you need to file. And so I just love that. I love keeping up with them and seeing their children grow. And I just love, I feel like this is kind of my life's work in part so much because of my personal story. So I never, ever, ever want my son to feel like it's weird that this is how he was born. I don't think he does. He knows our surrogate's name is Kayla. He knows Kayla. He knows that he says Mama's belly wasn't working. That's what he says. He knows that he was born in Las Vegas. That's pretty much, I mean, that's the extent of really the conversations we've had at this age about it. But he knows that's where he was born and that she carried him. And so I feel like it's I'm proud to talk about it. I go to local, bar groups and I try to be really loud and proud about that this is the work I'm doing and this is why. And that's because I never ever want him to feel like it's something he has to be ashamed of or not proud of or not, feel like it's something he has to hide. So the more people that understand it and that understand kind of even just this is what we do, and it's helping all types of families, not just families that look like mine, but all types of families and individuals that need help having children for one reason or another. I'm just proud to do it, and it's so very, very meaningful.
There's so we not often, but every so often we have intended parents that their intent is to not tell their child that they were born through surrogacy. And you brought that up for a second. So, I mean, your thoughts on that as an intended parent?
I just feel like we've already have 50 years of scholarship on that on adoption, and that's not what they say to do. So it's what do they say? It's more harmful. The keeping the secret is more harmful to your child than the secret itself. And more and in my case, I mean, he would be missing out on a beautiful relationship with an amazing human being. So and her family and her children, and so that's to me why we've always been open. And I mean, we have pictures. We don't have any pictures of me pregnant. Obviously, we don't have any. His birth certificate says state. Thank you, Kim. Says Nevada on it. So that'd be hard to explain. And maybe if they were born right here, but I don't know in today's day and age how you would even keep that a secret to begin with, and then.
We tell people anonymity does not work anymore, first.
Yeah.
But second, be proud. Why is it a secretive thing? It's, you used a procedure to have a child that worked and you have a family. But you're right, the adoption world has taught us a lot. And there's plenty of sensationalized movies out there about adoption and everybody, the adult who finds out they were adopted and never knew, and how angry they are at their family and how hard they search for their biological parents, etc. And we've just learned it really doesn't work. It absolutely doesn't. But I love mom has a broken belly. At what age did you start telling him that?
We just always told him that. I don't even remember really saying. I think we just so we so she came to his first birthday. She surprised. She like worked like texted with. She coordinated with my mom and surprised us and came to his first birthday. And then we saw her a couple months, like maybe when he was like 18 months old. We saw her, she came to Disney World with her family, and so we went there. And we've seen her a couple other times since then, like Disney World and things like that. And so just in like talking about her, and we've just have always said that. I don't even really remember. And then we've showed him pictures. Obviously, he's very into like maps and where things. He wants to know where things are and where. So we love to tell him like this is located here, and this is I don't know. Right now he's very into this is a side note, but he's very into like travel, and so he said that he thinks I-95 is longer than I-10, and I said it's definitely not, because we drove back from you with you on I-10, and so he just I don't know. We just have always told him, and she sent him. She's when he was little. She sent him birthday gifts, and I like to do on every year on his birthday. I send them a cake or dessert. This year I sent him. This year I sent them the like nothing bunk cakes. Do y'all have those? Are so good.
Yeah, we do have those.
So I've done like I do like a dessert for them, and I just say like we can't believe he is 5, or we love you, and just because and mostly because like her children when she had him, her children were like 6 and 4. They're like his age now, and now they're like in middle school and upper elementary school, and so I just I want them to know that like your mom is a badass. Like she's awesome, and she did this, and even just that they like remember, and that they're part of it, and I don't know. I just yeah. So
awesome. Well, let's see. What did we learn today? So everybody that's listening, we learned that agency should definitely put a scale on there about what type of relationship that people want. We've learned that broken belly, I like that a lot. I love the sending a gift to your surrogate every year on your child's birthday. That's amazing. And there was something else what did I say that I just adored? Oh, goodness. Well, we'll have a summary of the podcast anyways, but I like, takeaways, everybody that's listening. Tell us a little more exactly where you are in Florida, and just so everybody that's listening knows, like it does not matter where surrogacy attorneys are, but because we can help throughout our whole state. So
yes.
Just keep that in mind. But you're licensed in Florida, but you're located where?
I'm in Jacksonville, but yeah, I can practice anywhere in Florida.
Right. And website for your firm?
It is marksgray.com. So I'm at a local law firm in Jacksonville. We do all kinds of different things, and it's the oldest law firm in Jacksonville. So
there you go.
Yeah.
And any other contact information you want to give to people so they can get a hold of
I have, if they want to follow me on Instagram, it is Surrogacy Attorney Florida, and they can find me on LinkedIn on my name, and or the Florida Bar, any of that stuff. But I always tell people, even when they call me for a consult, or when I wrap up an agreement with them or whatever, that I'm when I was going through this, I didn't really know anyone. I knew very few people that were going through this or had gone through this, and so I always kind of want to be a resource as well. So I say, like, even though we're done, if you have any questions about just like Kim, we help a lot of international folks together. So I'm like, if you have any questions about coming to Florida, or where you should do, or where you should stay, or how to go about get the delivery, and when when we're representing intended parents, I always say like I'm more than happy to help or talk them through, or any questions about like kind of how to develop a relationship, or I wrapped up a case last week with a surrogate who, and I was like, and she feels very strongly about her intended mom, and just wanting to make sure she's like doing the right thing and making her comfortable. And so I was like, if you have any questions, you can certainly feel free to reach out to me for that perspective. And so I like to just I could talk about this stuff all day, from my personal journey as well as legally and all the developments there. So
Absolutely. Well, we end up being, as you've summarized so well, far more than lawyers when we do this area of law. And just like you, I mean, I get asked all the time, but you will always get Courtney's name out of my mouth for Florida for sure. But you ask any of us really that do this work, and we're all collegial in getting you to the right people in the right place. So
yes.
that you're getting what you need and the assistance that you need. So I so appreciate you today. I can't tell you.
Thank you.
I mean, I know I just keep gloating about you, but it really is a huge benefit for everybody that's listening to have an attorney with such a personal connection to the work that she's doing. And so as we stated, there's a lot of these matters that are interstate, intercountry, and a lot of times we have teams of people that we put together. So you never know when you'll have some facet of your matter in Florida and need Courtney, or not in Florida and Courtney's trying to get you somewhere else. But you can always start with her. I know she'll be there for you. All right, everyone. So I wanted to, before we end this real quick, I just wanted to say your favorite quote. Do you want to say it? Do you remember what it was that you put down?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember what I said. It was so, oh yes, I do remember what I said, because I think I keep it in my desk drawer. Did I say be where your feet are?
Yes, you did.
Yes, that is the one I said. Yes, because it's just such a good reminder that like, I'm here, and to really try to focus here. And then on the flip side, when I'm home, I need to be at home, and
I love the quote. I think it also helps with people like myself who multitask too much and get involved in too many things. So
well, that's a lawyer problem. I think
I have to just focus and say to myself, where am I right now, and do what's in front of me. So that's what it tells me too. So everyone, be where your feet are. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Surrogacy Warrior. I hope you found it enlightening and empowering. If you enjoyed the show, do what everybody tells you at the end of a podcast to do. Rate us, like us, review us. Your feedback helps. We're always happy to listen to additional ideas for additional speakers. Stay connected with us. You can also go to my website at lawyersforfamilies.com for more information and resources. I'm all over the place, not hard to find, but remember, you're not alone in this journey. Together we are warriors. Until next time, stay strong and keep fighting for your dreams.
You've been tuning into the Surrogacy Warrior podcast with your host, Kimberly Surratt. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, lawyersforfamilies.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.